Hey, Jonathan, Nick Hamilton, Nightcast Media. First of all, thank you for doing this. Wanted to ask you, first of all, you did a phenomenal job in this film. Thoroughly enjoyed the storyline as well as your portrayal of the character. I wanted to ask you, why was it important for you to portray this character as a black man, as a black, uh, weightlifter as it pertains? We see guys like Chris Dickerson, Lee Haney, Ronnie Coleman, and so many others. Why was it important to showcase this to the masses on screen and go through the ups and downs of how to get there to become one day a Mr. Olympia?
Uh, why was it important? For me, when I read the script, I read it at the height of COVID, the scary part, when we didn't know what was really going on. And when I read it, I thought, man, this is kind of it's a common feeling that I get around scripts, that I do. I go, oh, that's impossible. That can't happen. You know what I mean? And then that's when I go, okay, cool, let's get after it. Uh, why I thought it was important to what was impossible about it, the transformation, right? That's a part of it, that needed to happen. That had to happen in order to do this film. And also the emotional journey and the profile of this character. I think Killian Maddox represents so many, probably in many ways the majority in some ways, right? I think a lot of people can connect to the trials and tribulations that he deals with, right? And then chiefly that being one of, being a large African American male, trying to make it in society, but then also on top of that, dealing with the internal trauma and dramas of his own wellness, his own mental wellness. I thought it was a story that was really going to reflect to audiences a slightly marginalized individual that has the characteristics of the majority, and it's just what happens when they get out of whack, right? And then how that person and how those people react to that, and ultimately the journey of, like, yes, there's themes of celebrity, of mental health, of etc. I mean, it's death. It's all in there, right? Being orphaned, being black, being a black male, being a big black male, uh, this happening in this day and age. There's a lot of things we're like, okay, these are a lot of hot topics. Um, but in Killing, you have one story and one protagonist, that in 2 hours kind of gives you multiple things to link onto. And ultimately, the story is about, you've got to, we all go through that phase of like, oh, I think this is what it is. I know for a fact you think this is what it is. And then you get close to it and you go, oh, no, actually, it's this, right? And you can still get what you want, but you go a different route. And from the beginning of the film to the end, I think what we watch is Killian try to do it one way without giving spoils, right? Try to do it one way, get really far doing it one way, and then realize, oh no, this is not going to work for multiple reasons. And he has to change what his focus is. He has to change his aim, though he may or may not keep his objective when it's all over. You know, that's why.
No, well said, and thank you for doing this. And again, man, look forward to you conquering more roles very soon.
Stay tuned. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi, Jonathan. Mercedes here with She Critiques in Atlanta. Um,
Mercedes.
what's up? One thing that I instantly thought about in the film is that there's so many scenes where he's isolated. He's not necessarily talking to a scene partner or another actor. So for me, I was thinking, what did you see in the script? I guess there weren't any lines there, but how did you dive into Killian's mindset? What were you seeing that you brought to those scenes where you were by yourself that the audience may went over our heads?
Right on. So the title, of course, is called Magazine Dreams, right? And the prerequisite to a dream, in my opinion, is the imagination. And your imagination then activates you to try to manifest this dream. And the dream comes from a very hyper imagination, right? What we want to do, right? And you begin to put plans together, right? And those plans ultimately, if lined up correctly, will lead you to quote unquote a dream. So I say that to say that Killian's drive for success, his drive to be a Mr. Olympia, right? To be on the cover of a magazine is so great that for many people, right? Again, goes to our brother's question. For many people, when you are trying to do something impossible, you have to sit with yourself a lot, you know? So what was he seeing, right? Now that's actor's work, right? Like the imagination work on that, right? When he sits back, I don't want to bore you with actor stuff, right? But I will say his, I do these things called soul charts, right? Where I essentially look at the script and I kind of diagnose for myself what are the most important things for this character, right? We all have one or two or three, usually 3 to 4 things that we really just care about. And those 4 things usually manifest themselves in our emotional life. If you get to talk about something, like for instance, I'm talking about acting now, so I'm excited about acting. Acting is one of my 4 things, right? God, family, art. That's probably it. You know what I mean? Yeah, God, family, art. That's it in that order. So if I ever get on a topic like that, my brain goes to that place. So with Killian, what Elijah Bynum did so well is that he built such a cool world, right? And in the empty space, right, of sitting there alone without a scene partner, right, I can put whatever scene partner in the world I want, right? I can be dealing with everything I want to deal with, right? Everything that he needs to be working out is constant, right? When the stakes are so high. So, for instance, when he's looking at the YouTube video, right? He's sitting by himself. Yes, he's receiving, right? My instrument is receiving from that, right? But Killian is also thinking, how great would it be if these numbers started running up, right? And now he's watching those numbers in that way. And what happens? And what is the consequence when they don't run up, right? So he's simply just being present with his dream, right? With the hopes he has. That's one thing about Killian. Every time he's sitting there, he's when he's alone in isolation, he's navigating with his hope. Sometimes it's really high, sometimes it's really low. Sometimes he's at the diner and it's like the hope is gone, right? He just sees an empty bed where hope used to be. It's not there anymore. That gives him a reaction. He's like, okay. And those are the guys who did that. You know what I mean? And then he has a reaction. So just lily pads of that from one moment to the next moment to the next moment. And the thing we had to our benefit in shooting it is that we shot it pretty much chronologically, right? So any memory I made in the past scene, I could then play that, right? Live like we do in real life. Last time I was here, this happened. And now this is happening, right? So it begins to build, which gives the film, I hope, you know, that propulsive emotional drive to it. Something's always going on.
Yeah, well, you did that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Michael Sowell from Washington, D.C. Jonathan, it's an honor to speak with you. I've been dreaming of having this interview for a long time, and it's my 2nd year in journalism as a film critic. Watching this film and all the roles that you've taken, there's been a layer, I feel, of the Black man that in terms of area of the life that the challenges that he go through every single day. I've seen every single role that you've taken, start going from Lovecraft Country, even with Kang to this. It's like, I feel there's a relatability factor. And in this film, there's a sense of seeking validation and negative aspects of seeking validation from other people. What is one thing you want audiences, but particularly Black male viewers, to take from watching not only this film, but more importantly, your performance, seeking the negative aspects of seeking that validation instead of seeking it within themselves?
Right. Well, I mean, you just gave the answer, right? That validation starts with yourself, right? You know, you cannot, the accoutrement of life, right? The muscles, the money, the houses, the career, right? All of these things are a byproduct of the inside, right? And you can get pretty far just on drive and ambition and grit. You can do that, right? But at some point, as Sister was talking about, there's going to be a moment of isolation. And when those moments of isolation become the norm, right? You have, because the thing about isolation, right, is that you are by yourself, okay? That's actually impossible, right? Because as we know in psychology, you've got the self, the ego, etc., right? So if you find yourself isolated, that to me is that is the recipe for misery, right? I like being alone, but when I'm alone, it's me and God, right? Or it's me and my good thoughts, right? Or it's me and my dog. You know what I mean? When I'm with my partner, I'm there with her, right? But what I'm saying is that what I hope the brothers take away from this is that we need each other, right? But you first have to sweep around your own front door, right? And then there comes a time when you go, okay, brother, I'm prepared to pour into you, right? And as you pour into each other, we grow and we build, right? We can grow and build the muscles. We can grow and build our businesses. We can grow and build our families, our children, our churches. We can do that way. You know what I mean? So what I would say is, yeah, the lone wolf shit is cool, but it don't work. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you need something there that's going to support you, help you, and motivate you, and especially for those of us, I'll speak to the homies, to the brothers, right? Those of us who are living in a culture where it seems like this is the way it's supposed to go, right? That's a trap. That's the gimmick, right? This is the way it's supposed to go. It's quite the opposite, right? Run towards the war, run towards the roar, as it were, right? Move towards your brethren, move towards your tribe, move towards your friends, right? Because also you get better at it. You know what I mean? As you see in the film, he's not good at it at first. You know what I'm saying? He's trying, he has the need, but but what would have happened if he tried, or if he had someone demonstrate that to him earlier on in his life? Right? As we know, he deals with things as a young boy that fracture that, right? He doesn't have that, right? And so he jumps the line. I'm talking about the movie now. But what I would say for the brothers to take home, right, is like, yes, man, be a dog, right? Work hard, have your ambition, have your drive. But understand that the second part of that achievement, right, is having people that can literally spot you, right? Pun intended, right? That's what you need. Work hard, be him, show him, do whatever you want to do, right? But ultimately, the humility comes in the fact that I actually can't get stronger unless you spot this weight. You can't push 335, 325 without the homie. I can't do 325 without the homie standing above me being like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? Find your spotters. That's what I would say.
Well, I just want to say, to me, this is by far your best performance you have delivered to date. And I just want to say I've been praying for many blessings coming your way in this industry and say thank you for this performance.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Hi, Jonathan. Jill Monroe from KBLA Talk 1580, Jill Monroe. So Killian, we see is not just chasing a dream, he's obsessed by it, so to speak. And I want to know, through this role, what did you learn about the psychology of obsession through walking the walk with Killian?
Right. So monomania is a real thing, right? Right. You're just manic about one thing. You're crazy about one thing, right? It's really sexy at first, but ultimately, right, it isolates you, right? But let's go with the positive, right? What I learned first, and then we'll talk about what the lesson is. For me, the positive of that was I really enjoyed making this movie because I was like, this is what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like the drama school, work, try. Like, we actually kind of had that in common. Like, the way I look at acting, like the whole craft of acting is similar to, I don't want to make any comparisons because I'll get in trouble. But you know what I mean? It is the path of Jesus. It is the path of trying to achieve a greater position for yourself. Woo! That's safe, right? That was safe. Thank you, brother. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed that, right? The meritocracy of it, right? The fact that in bodybuilding, he believes, if my shoulders are bigger, if my legs are bigger, if my weight is lower, if I can do the poses better, I should win, right? And to a degree, in the world of bodybuilding, it is a meritocracy, right? Then, of course, at the very top, there's always politics, and that's just the game, right? At some point that'll change, maybe not, but that's the game, right? So yeah, what I enjoyed was the fact that kind of monk work ethic, right, was something I really got to play in, right? And then again, to the flip side of it, right, it goes, okay, cool. You need to, what I also found is like the recovery, right? When you train so hard, you've got to recover even harder, right? And what we were trying to do in this movie, I had to do 30 days of essentially stage ready, right? With the exception of like 3 days where I was supposed to be flat, quote unquote. Those are the scenes with Taylor Page when Killian's insecure about his looks. So it was dog work every day, every day, every day. But then I had to figure out how to recover, right? And that is something that I wasn't necessarily so good at in Jonathan's day to day, right? The recovery, right? I do a movie, cool movie, great. Go see my little girl, spend 2 weeks. I'm off to the next one. When she coming, cool, bring her. Let's go. Boom, we're there, right? I was going from movie to movie to movie to movie to movie. Now I still hope and pray to continue that path, moving, 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 moving. But there's a respite, right? There's a moment where you have to kind of, right, decompress, right? I learned that from Killian. You have to decompress because the stakes were so high for him, right? You have to decompress. You have to reevaluate. You have to go, okay, cool. The deltoids look good. Let's work on this. So in my personal life, okay, cool. Finances are cool. Let's work on this. Okay, cool. It's cool. And then for me, it was like, all right, cool. You're doing all these things, but what's up with God? Where you at with that? You blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. That's falling to the wayside. Blah, blah, blah. But I gotta go to the next movie. Right? I'm reading my Bible. I'm doing my thing. Blah, blah, blah. But you're not active. You're not really recovering, right? And so through Killian, I got to look at, okay, cool. Killian needs this and this and this to recover, right? I need this, and this to recover, right? Because if you don't recover, you injure yourself. That works in the gym and that works in life. So that's definitely, does that make sense, y'all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, man.
One of the things that I love about the movie is that it doesn't shy away the darker side of being famous and masculinity, mental health. And I
Yeah.
wonder, it's your definition because he's looking for an American dream. Do you think that this is the darker side of this American dream, the so-called American dream?
That's a wonderful question. And that's something we really talked about, right? The evaluation of oneself, right? And in Killian's standpoint, one's manhood, right? In this society, right? That worships these things, right? These things potentially specifically for the demographic that I think a lot of people fall into, but specifically the demographic of Killian, right? Which is young, um, male, Black, and middle and lower class, right? If there's any place to go on paper, right, that is going to give you opportunity, it's it's America, right? It's America. North America, Canada could work, but America, right? If you want to try to do it, you want to go to America, right? And so the conversation that he's having with Vanderhorn, right? The guy I mean, let's just evaluate it, right? And we'll speak to this audience. What he's obsessed with is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, beautiful white man. Okay, cool. That is the Ken, that is the up until Brother Mackie, that's Superman, right? That's Captain America, right? He wants to be that, right? Who doesn't? Right? Who doesn't? Until they wake up, right? And there's a moment where he goes, "Oh, this doesn't it doesn't fit." Right? It doesn't fit. So it is a conversation with the American dream, right? We say, okay, cool. What's the American dream? Lift yourself up by the bootstraps, right? Essentially meritocracy. This man believes in that, right? He believes that, okay, you do this, you should be treated this way. You've done this is how this goes, right? We talk about it with his pawpaw, right? Why are you talking to him like this? He's a war veteran, right? You would show him respect. You know what I mean? These things makes sense to him, right? He's bought into the American dream fully, right? The idea of celebrity, right? And not even the trappings of that. He actually sees it in a very pure way, right? He just wants to be up there and be noticed, be seen. He wants his TikTok moment, right? And he tries for that, right? That's what he wants. And ultimately, the American dream, right, is evaluated from his point of view, right? That's one of the arcs in the film, right? If you can capsulize the American dream and examine it in that way, Killian is essentially walking that path, right? Having that walking dream and realizing it's actually a nightmare, right? then of course the story continues. You know what I mean? Like who knows what the Killian Maddoxes in the world will do after they have that realization, right? After they're enlightened to what their dream is, right? We have the American dream, and then now, right? Yeah, you know, I'll say it. I don't really care. Like you have the Killian dream, right? You have your original dream, right? Based off of your blueprint, based off your REM cycle, as it were, right? This is what it is for me. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a great question, man. It's a huge evaluation. You know, there's no judgment on it, but it's a huge evaluation of what the American dream is, because this individual very much believes in that, right? He believes in it. He is a child of the zeitgeist, right? Historically and presently.
No, even all the poster in his room, this white people, like it's very beautiful. Like his dream is basically other people's dream. But thank you so
Yeah.
much for your answer.
Thanks, man.
What's up, Jonathan? Emmanuel Noisette from E-Man's Movie Reviews and the official leader of the Kang Gang. Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you,
Listen,
bro.
I love the parallel that you drew between bodybuilding and acting. We're not going to go down that route too much, but Killian is chasing validation in this industry that we know it values extremes, right? The size of your deltoid, the size of your bicep, etc. How did playing Killian make you reflect differently on the pressures of fame and how society treats those people that are on the fringes?
Wow. Wow. The hustle for fame, right? The fame monster, as it were. How did I frame it? How did I re-see it in doing the film? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Right. Fame, the idea of validation, right? And the idea of being separate. I think fame is an interesting thing, right? And I'll tell you why. And I think this is something that I'm not talking from, I am talking for me, but I'm talking in relationship to the film and how it all works, right? When a person is famous, right? Or why Killian feels that he wants to be this. When a person is famous, for whatever reason, right? They're singular. You may be part of a group, right? You're a movie star, right? And there's movie stars that have come before you, movie stars will come after you, current movie stars along with you. You're you're the best journalist, right? You're famous for being a journalist. But what comes with fame is this idea of isolation, right? And the hunger for fame, I think, and I'm kind of just running the movie through my system, right? I think that fame is such a natural driver for certain people and for a lot of people, because so many people are already halfway there. And what I mean by that, I mean they're halfway there in the isolation that they experience every day, right? I know a lot of famous people. I may or may not be famous, quote unquote, don't know. But I can tell you that there is a certain amount of isolation that comes with it, right? And if you're already isolated as an individual, right, you don't see the sacrifice in that. You go, I'm already this. I'm already by myself, right? Let me at least be by myself and everybody pay attention to me, right? And so Killian begins to work on the thing that makes him special, right? That he thinks is going to make him special, right? And in doing that, there lies the trap, because as we said before, isolation is not the thing. That's not the game, right? It's just not the game, y'all. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I realized. Went, oh, there's not that much to do, right? After living, you know, moving through the world the way I move through the world, I go, ah, yeah, it's kind of the same thing. You work by yourself, you know what I mean? You train by yourself. You think no one understands what it is you're doing. No one understands what it takes. You know what I mean? Like there becomes a certain amount of, and this is something that a lot of bodybuilders have in common and we talk about, right? You keep jumping around the screen, my brother. I know why I'm just trying to look at you. But what ends up happening is there becomes a deep level of insecurity, right? In the fame chase. Why? Because it's a game of comparison, right? You're comparing yourself, and even if you're not comparing yourself, right? The internet's comparing you, right? And if you don't even look at the internet, you gotta have a conversation with somebody that says, I really like this, or someone else is going, movies happen every day. You don't got a movie out every month. It's wild, right? And so it triggers this insecurity, right? That again, 25%, right, are already there. I'm already famous. All I gotta do is get people to like me. You know what I mean? I'm insecure and I'm by myself. All I gotta do is have a special skill. And that type of concentrated false clarity makes you do crazy shit, right? Makes you put well, bodybuilding's different, right? Because that's just a part of the culture. But it makes you isolate yourself. It makes you miss children's games and births because you got to go to the gym. It can, right? When it's the most toxic, it can. But you're in a world where that is the culture, right? Same can be said for anything and anybody who is working from that, I'll call it old operating system, right? Of thinking it's got to be me, fuck everybody else. I'm gonna get it, blah blah blah. This and this, this and this. Cool, right? That is, I mean, you hear stories about that. Anyone who's quote unquote a champion or great at something, there's always a quality of them that is by themselves and isolated and this and this. The ones who are successful at it also, right? However they do it, right? Find the God code, right? The cheat code that goes, okay, cool. I'm gonna keep feeling this way, but I'm gonna bring her along with me. I'm pointing over where Megan's at. I'm gonna bring her along with me, right? I'm gonna make sure he's with me, right? You know what I mean? That's the game. So that really helped me reevaluate, you know what I mean? Like a lot of like insecurity, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that hits you sometimes. That hits me sometimes, you know, like especially now in this stage. Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? But you got a whole different game plan now. You know what I mean? You got a whole different team around you. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about myself now. Does that answer the question, bro?
Man, more than enough. Listen, you've conquered that question. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, Nancy here.
Hey,
And
Nat.
first of all, I want to say, like, we cannot wait until we see you as Kang again. It just has to happen. Petition, whatever is going to happen, it has to happen. And we're sure it's going to happen. And secondly, I really love this movie. It was very emotional. Just watching Killian go through all of that. And I don't want to give things away, but the ending, just, yeah. So I wanted to know for you, how did you prepare emotionally for this role? I feel like there was just so much that went into it, and I can't imagine how much that may have taken out of you, like physically, emotionally, to kind of go through that. And so I wondered if you could talk about that a bit.
Yes, ma'am. The expense of the film, the personal expense of the film. Yeah. Probably the hardest one to make. You know what I mean? Like I don't have favorites, you know, but you understand that like, okay, for this film, the amount of hours that I had to put in on it it was a lot. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot, you know. And it wasn't it wasn't just in the gym. I'm just talking about physical first, and then we'll talk about the emotional. The physical work was, and I enjoy it. I just got back from the gym. Said gym, talk to the folks. I'm off to my day, right? You know, but the extreme nature of it, right, of bodybuilding in general is gnarly, right? And then adding into that the given circumstances of where this guy lands in that world, right? He's in the hunt. That's the worst place to be if you don't want to put out effort. You know what I mean? If you're losing, you just kind of sit on your ass and just say, cool, whatever. If you're winning, you maintain. If you're in the hunt, you got to go. And Killian was definitely in the hunt the whole time. My AC just came on, y'all. Is it messing you up? Can you hear me? We're good. Yeah. So he was in the hunt. So the amount of training that went into it, the amount of dieting, I think it was, I think I put on, from the time I got the script to the time we shot, I put on 20 pounds. About, yeah. 20 pounds is about a year and a half. No, about a year and 3 months. And I had just come off of Creed, right? And so I'm training for the Creed 3. So I'm training for the bodybuilding film while I'm working on Creed. So my body's in a whole different spot, right? Like I'm shooting with Mike in the mornings, in the night, and then at 11 o'clock after work, I'm going to the gym, right? For the second time, right? For Creed, it's a different thing, right? So, and then I have to eat, right? And I've got it's not optional. It's not like, and you're not praised if you don't eat. Like, nah, that's not cute, bro. You got to eat. You know what I mean? And like the amount of times I'm walking around the kitchen table, just like, God help me. You know what I mean? Just like shoving it back. You know, like it was a beautiful cocoon to be in, right? And now when we speak to the emotional life of it, right? That's where things kind of all come together, because in order to get your body, right, to a certain spot, you have got to separate, no, you have to lean into the most human parts of you, right? What I mean by that, I mean, you're gonna experience pain, right? Pretty quickly in a workout, right? First 15 minutes of it, you're gonna be feeling pain. And then for the next hour and 30 minutes, it's gonna be there. And in fact, if it's not there, you're actually not doing it right. Right? And so what comes from that is like when it's like if any of you guys have like ran really hard and then you cry afterwards, right? Yeah. It just opens you up, right? Your adrenaline hits a certain way, right? And then you just like, you're either very happy or you're very just like, or you're crying. You know, there's a lot of crying in the gym working on this, right? And then so then that connects to what happens on screen, right? No one's filming me at 1 o'clock in the morning training. I mean, my guys are there, but no one's shooting me, right? That's just for me. But what ended up happening is I then went, okay, cool. This is the preparation for the movie. So Jonathan, probably trained the first 4 months, right? And then from the 5th month to the, let's call it 13th month, right? Killian was training. So I used it as rehearsal, right? And so I began to train as Killian, right? And then from that, I learned about his emotional life. What type of person, how much pain would you have to experience in your daily life to be able to endure and actually invite this type of pain privately in a gym, right? And then finally, I believe that Killian, for my money, he's a spirit character, right? For me, there's soul characters and spirit characters, right? Kang was a soul character. Killian is a spirit character, right? What does that mean? It means which part of me am I using, right? And when you think about spirit and light, I think about children, right? When I think about children, I think about clown work, right? And clown work is a big thing about my work, right? He Who Remains, all clown. Montgomery Allen and Black Man of San Francisco, all clown. You know what I mean? They're always there, but those two performances and now Killian are more clown forward, right? What do I mean by that? Clown is the unsocialized, pure, gentle part of yourself, right? If I sit my daughter down, maybe not so much now because she's almost a teenager, but at around 7 years old, I could sit her there and she would go through 8 emotions, right? Boom, laughter, cry, boom, 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 boom. That's the spirit of the clown, right? This unsocialized, beautiful, pure thing, right? And you take that thing and you run it through the dirt, you run it through the gravel, you run it through the woods, you throw it in the pool. That's what you guys are witnessing. What happens to a person who, I mean, we can talk, medically, right? With arrested development to a degree, right? That incident that we talk about at the table at the diner, right? You have to imagine that stunted him completely, right? And he had to but he kept growing and he kept going, right? He kept pursuing. But that childlike emotional life, right, was the core of it. And a lot of that I got to witness for the first time and experience Killian and what that felt like through the physical transformation.
Nice. That was an amazing explanation. Thank you. And yeah, there are just so many layers to this movie. And it's really beautiful, and much success with it, and just success in general.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Jonathan. My name is Karan Lenoir Kelly with Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure. And first of all, it's so good to see you. It's great to see you. Killian's discipline, or what seemed like discipline, devolved into his desperation. The work that it took for his physical discipline, it devolved into his emotional desperation. And I'd like to know, what has discipline taught you? And what did you learn from desperation?
Discipline. Discipline is, I believe, and it's not me, this is actually probably one of my 5 therapists. Discipline is the prerequisite to happiness, right? And when that came up and that was said, I've heard that before. I like to read. But the thing about discipline is you have to be disciplined at the right aim, right? And for the right reasons, right? Good witch, bad witch, right? You know, you're still powerful, but why are you disciplined? And what are you disciplined for? And that is something that I went, okay, that was something to look at, right? And we go, okay, is there something wrong with Killian, you know, with all his discipline and this and this? No, there's nothing wrong with it, but perhaps his aim was off, right? And as I've said, and I've said it before, like, I'm an extremely disciplined guy. You know what I mean? Like do my homework, take the trash out, you know, whatever it takes. You know, like I'm on it. You know, I got it. Cool. But if you're isolated from yourself, right, it's hard to understand why you're disciplined. Are you disciplined just for the nature of it? Are you disciplined just because it's quote unquote who you are, right? Have you subscribed to that archetype of being, you know, I'm this, right? It shouldn't. I think what I found playing Killian, and then in my personal life, is that there's a cheat sheet to it, right? Like there's a God code to it, right? That if your discipline is connected to your pleasure, right, and connected to your joy, right, it can never devolve, right? It can never devolve, right? And I think where Killian can go off, kind of where things get hairy with him, is that it tips, right? As we said, his American dream, his plan, his focus was off, right? He was just like, he went to the Walmart, he went to the CVS on Santa Monica when he should have went to one on La Cienega. That's how far he was off. But there's a car accident that's going to occur if you go to La Cienega, right? You got to go to the other one, right? I'm not talking shit about pharmacies. I'm just trying to give an example, right? And that's what devolves, right? That's why it devolves. Ultimately, discipline is probably one of the most beautiful organic traits we have as human beings, right? No one, you can't buy it. You know what I mean? You can't, it's like, it's there. You can work it, you can exercise it, you can practice it. You can't buy it, you know? And discipline is also connected to willpower, right? I'll stop. But yeah, does that make sense? I kind of stopped midway, but do you follow what I'm saying?
It does, but what also have you learned about desperation?
Right, that's the next part, desperation. My mind went emotion. Yeah, desperation. Desperation comes from the idea and the true belief of youth being isolated, right? And that, I mean, we have some of a theme here, right? Like when you feel like you are by yourself, right? You will do anything, right? You will do anything, right? Because there is no one may do anything, right? Because you're unaware of where the aid is coming from, right? I think there's a sense of, again, pressure. There's so much pressure in this film, right? There's a sense of pressure where it's like, if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen, right? That's a bar, right? That false belief that if it's not happening now, it's not going to happen, right? And I do everything in my power to make this happen now, right? That's the bad turn. That's the bad turn, right? We're not talking about support. We're not talking about pawpaw in the film. We're not talking about really talking to the therapist in the film. We're not talking about any of that, right? We're talking about man versus self, right? Which is a concept for a lot of stories. You have man versus nature, man versus society, man versus self. The movies in which the man wins, right, or the protagonist, right, or the woman wins in the story, right, is when it's man versus self, right, and man calls in or uses the ally, right, of something greater than him, right? That's a victory. When you lose, right, and you fall into this idea, right, and this conceit of desperation, it's because you tried to take yourself down. Now it's man versus self. Of course you're going to lose. You're equally matched. Of course chaos is going to happen, right? The only way to not devolve into chaos and devastation, right, is to have an anchor, right? Killian, right? The journey of the film, no spoilers, right, is for him to reassign his anchor.
Thank
Woo!
you. Thank
Come
you.
on.
So you did that. You did that. Thank you.
Steve, thank y'all.
Hi, Dana Abercrombie from the Coalition. My question is about, it's very interesting how we see this 6'1" big black man, and it shows the anger and the violent nature that he has, but it's only when he's disrespected. But in actuality, he carries himself very small. He doesn't speak much. He breaks eye contact. What he does say, he's very short and right to the point. Can you talk about balancing both sides of that character, as opposed to what society sees him as to what he really is?
That's a great question. And I could let any of the homies up here answer that too, because it is a tight rope. Like, what is learned, right? Like, that was the part for me that was like, oh, this is actually so inhumane. It's so inhumane that this man, right, this human being who takes up so much space, right, has to evacuate his own space in order to move through society, right? He's learned that he's invisible, right? And he's learned that when he does fill up space, right, there are negative consequences, right? Primarily because of the physical threat, right, that society is wont to perceive when they see him, right? And so the balance of that is, okay, hey, how are you? Ooh, yep, that's him, right? Then you see him in the gym. Hush. He's what we're trying to do in the film, right, is take this guy who is confident, who is brave, who is courageous, who is ambitious, right? Take that man, right, and marry him to the gentle, quiet, quite polite, right, struggling other individual, and put these men together, right? We have the private Killian and we have the public Killian, right? The public Killian, as you say, is trying to stay alive, right? He's literally just trying to stay alive. I don't say that as in hyperbole. I say that as in, like, this is what life is for him, right? He's witnessed death, right? He's witnessed death, right, at the highest level, without him losing his own life, right? He believes it's real. He knows it. He knows it can happen, right? No spoilers there, but as we all know, the situation in which he experienced death is something that no one would want to experience. It's horrific. It's actually it's Greek. You know what I mean? It's biblical. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then you have this other part of him that's a bit more sweet, right? Now, do I think that's learned? Well, yeah, it's a positive thing. I would like to say, no, that's just how he is. But he has to find a way to like not get in trouble. You know what I mean? And also to serve some of the things he needs. Like he understands he needs companionship, right? He wants to hang out with the guys at the gym, you know, he wants to hang out with her. He wants to hang out with her, you know, he wants to meet Brad. He doesn't just want to look at him, he wants to meet him. You know what I mean? He wants to be close to him, right? And then they take advantage of that, but that's a different conversation. Let me make sure it's complete. Yeah, I think that's clear to me. That's clear to me. It may not be clear to you. It's clear to me.
No, it's very clear
Okay,
to me.
good,
Thank you so much. You did a fabulous job.
Thank you.
Hey, what's going on? Jonathan Anthony with the movieblog.com, unofficial member of the Kang gang. Just wanted to say first and foremost, thank you. Right? I don't know if anybody else is going to say it, but thank you. We all see what you're doing. You're carrying yourself with such class. We're all very proud of you. I just wanted to say thank you for coming out and giving us your time this afternoon.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Now, I'll be brief. Now, you've played some strong commanding roles before, right? But Magazine Dreams required you to embody a guy who's both physically imposing and emotionally invisible.
Ooh.
Was there a particular scene or moment that left a lasting impact on you emotionally, one that you still think about even after filming is wrapped?
Wow. Yeah, I think so. I would say, okay, guys, don't get upset. You'd have to tell me if this part's in the movie because I've not seen it. Okay. So after the exchange, we'll call it, with Brad, and he leaves the trailer, is there a walkout where we're just on Killian? Yes, I'm seeing a head nod. Okay. Kind of. My brother says kind of. Okay, so I don't even know if it's in the movie, but I'll describe it, and then once I describe it, you guys will know if it's in the movie or not. So after the exchange between the two of them, he's walking out, and the thing about it is, and why I'm curious if it's in the movie, because it wasn't on the call sheet. Like we weren't gonna have that moment, right? Elijah saw what was happening in the where I was at in the room. We took it there. I mean, we didn't take it there, but you know what I mean? Like I was there, you know, and Killian was there, and Adam, the DP, kind of came in and was like, "Hey, I think we should." Cool. Yeah, can you? You know, they were very gentle. Like, can you? Like, let's keep this, and I just want you to walk out, and Adam's gonna follow you. In that moment, for me, right, we talk about the American dream. He's literally everything he ever wanted was right there. And he actually got more than he bargained for. And he realizes it, right? And then he realizes that wasn't the game at all. You know what I mean? We're not talking about preferences or anything like that. It's just, it's manifested itself in the most real way. Connection, fame, you're right there. And the disappointment and the confusion, right? And the hurt of that, when he walks out, I remember Adam was right on Killian, and he just has me walk out, and he's just full of whatever it is. And all that thinking is happening in his head right there, right? We went one time. Right, we were at the end of the day. He said, "Can you do this?" I said, "If you move the cat, let's go." Yeah, it wasn't that enthusiastic. I was just like, "Yeah, let's go." You know what I mean? But that moment, right, where like it's not always what you think. You feel me? Like from that moment, right, you begin to understand the world you thought you want it is fucked, right? By your standards, right? If you like that world, sure, but it's fucked by Killian's standards. And then from that moment on, he begins to understand one of my favorite lines from Coriolanus, William Shakespeare. He begins to understand that there is a world elsewhere, right? And from that moment, we kind of start turning the piece. In that moment, cut, done, I think about quite often, where I go, all right, got it. You know what I mean? Got it. You have everything you want, right? And now you've got to continue. You've got it. Now you have to continue without that. What's that gonna look like? You know what I mean? Do you still want it? Do you still want it? You know? My answer is fuck yeah, bring it, come. You know what I mean? And we'll get it a different way because there's a world elsewhere. You know what I mean? And that world is an internal understanding. That's what happens in that moment. His internal understanding, he wakes up. It's not real, right? It's not real. Can't touch and feel that. You can't, it's not gonna keep you happy. It's not gonna give you joy. And then we start the next act of the film, the final act of the film, I believe, where he kind of comes back to a new home, right? That's where we kind of have things in common.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's nice to hear that insight from your perspective of being a celebrity and, you know, being in that world. So I really appreciate you giving me that insight.
Yes, sir. Celebrity, allegedly.
No, you're a celebrity, man, and a very, very one of the most talented actors that we've seen in quite some time.
Thank you, brother.
Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us, for being with us today. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, have a great day, and we are enjoying seeing you on After Roundtables.
Wicked. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You can always count on us.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.